Today I'm going to be talking about the behavioral effects of violent video games, and my claim is that the link between violent video games and negative behavior is negligible. So I'm going to demonstrate this to you by showing you that 1, video games play a relatively small role in a person's behavior, and that 2, video games might even have a slight beneficial effect on a person's behavior. So I'm going to start by asking a few questions. How many of you have played a violent video game either on the computer or a console? So that is the majority of you. And now, how many of you find the urge to violently murder or maim someone while you see them walking down the street? Those are the people I should stay away from. All right. So, as you can see, without the jokiness, not many of you are affected by the video games in a negative manner. That brings me to my first secondary claim, that the video games play a small role in a person's behavior. In May 2011, Dr. Simon Goodson, a senior lecturer in psychology at the University of Huddersfield, says, "We tried 3 years to find a link between aggression and violent video games either way, but we haven't been able to because it doesn't exist. And by using medical equipment that costs tens of thousands of dollars, scientists like Goodson have made studies looking at brain activities while the participants of the studies are playing violent video games. And in these studies, they have found no mental change in activity aside from the slight emotional reaction when the participant's own character dies." Furthermore, in March 2008, Dr. Christopher Ferguson, assistant professor of psychology at Texas A&M International University, stated that the results indicated no effects for violent video game exposure or subsequent aggression in the laboratory. Previous life experience with violent video games also had no effect on aggression. So, by randomizing the participants of the study and the violent or non-violent video games that they played, the researchers can get a good statistical data, and they find that the video games have almost no link to negative behavior problems. So, Dr. Ferguson also tried a second study examining the correlation between sex or personality, family violence, and video games to violent crime. And his results were that that aggressive personality and family violence do predict, in some manner, violent crimes, but violent video games do not. So this leads me to another point supporting the first claim, that video games play a small role in a person's behavior. A child's upbringing and surroundings play a far more critical and significant role in the development of their behavior. So when a child grows up, the most influencing factor of how that child will act in the future is undoubtedly their parents. The upbringing of the child falls into the hands of the parents, and if the parents should neglect that duty, then those neglected children may seek an outlet for those bottled emotions. And these bottled emotions will become negative behavior, such as tantrums, or apathy, or defiance towards their parents, or even violence. Another influencing factor of the child is the children's environment. Young people are much more influenced by by tangible objects or ideas, such as the ideas of their peers. The people who children are most around often influence the child's mental and behavioral patterns. Thus, compared to both family and environmental factors, the effects of video games on a person's behavior is insignificant. And now my second claim, as stated before, is that video games may slightly benefit behavior. Many people tend to bottle up emotions such as stress and anger, and violent video games may serve as an outlet for these emotions. A study in 2007 by the researchers of Massachusetts General Hospital's Center for Mental Health and Media finds that many children are playing video games to manage their feelings, including anger and stress. Children who play violent video games are more likely to play to get their anger out. In this manner, video games serve as a way to relax and temporarily escape from the problems these youths have. Furthermore, playing video games with family members may have beneficial effects. In February 2011, researchers of Brigham Young University School of Family Life found that girls who played video games with the parent enjoyed a number of advantages. Those girls behaved better, felt more connected to their families, and had stronger mental health. So, in conclusion, violent video games have a negligible effect on negative behavior problems. This was seen through the claims that video games play an insignificant role in a person's behavior, and that video games may even have slight beneficial effects.
All right. The proposition's very clearly stated. You have an excellent layout of what the secondary points are. There's a solid transition between the first and the second point in the main body of the speech. I think you do a good job explaining the presuppositions behind the argument. You establish credibility well by the presentation and your consistent citation of the sources that you're giving us. You've got some hypothetical examples. You've got a lot of expert testimony that you try and qualify and make appear to be very credible. And I think you do a good job on that. There probably is some statistical information from those studies, but we never get it referred to in the context of the speech. And so I liked most of the evidence that you had. It felt like there were a couple of places where it could be padded out a little bit. I thought your generalizations were really solid given the argument that you had, and you had a very good presentation. Excellent audience contact and pacing. All that was really solid. Now let me turn this off for just a second.